the original topic is supposed to be taking a seat on the table, but I moved it a little to make it a bit more interesting. So instead of just taking a seat, sometimes there may be no seats. So I've decided that we will bring our own seats to the table. And that's why there's been a little alteration on our topic for today. It is something that is very beautiful, very dynamic. I hope I would do justice to the subject matter, especially within the time frame. But whatever I leave out, I am very sure the esteemed panelists will cover it for me. Please, if you have questions, just take note of the questions. You can also send me notes. We will deal with it when we get to the question and answer session. So having said that, let's start the program. We have I try to make it as short as possible, as brief as possible. And so this is the outline for today. I would not read it out because we're going to go through it and we don't have a lot of time. So the introduction starts with a disclaimer. Okay, the disclaimer is about me. I may say some things that may not be palatable, may not be acceptable by the norms or whatever it is. I will try very hard not to make any political statement. I can't promise, but I will try hard. But it's because I have strong views, and that's the whole idea of having this forum, so that we can think, it can push the narrative, we have a conversation, and we can also say it is okay for us to be different. It is okay for us to have different points of view, as long as we are all aiming towards the right direction. P.S. a formal disclaimer, I'm a feminist, so my ideology may be different. I know that's a word a lot of people don't like in Nigeria, but okay, please accept me as I am. So a little personal introduction. I started my career 16 years ago. I started from the bank. I remember I initially wanted to be okay, let me do this in 30 seconds or 1 hour, 1 minute. I wanted to be a lawyer, but trust our JAMB process. I ended up with English. And I remember when I was in the bank, we saw our regional HR manager come for a visit, and I fell in love with HR. So halfway through it, I went for my master's, I came back. I started as a HR manager. I grew from a HR manager in a 1-month business. I moved to head of HR, then first time tasting corporate head of, I think I grew to director of corporate services in another 1-month business, which was slightly bigger. From there, I entered into the power sector. I started as HR manager for the African sector or African region for an American company in a power plant at that time. So we had other plants that we were developing and working on in other countries like Kenya and the rest. After that, I moved to the head of HR in a prominent power company in Nigeria. Then I moved to the group director of HR as in also a power conglomerate. And at that time, I was the youngest director, I think. And so I've had a really good accelerated career. And so when I was invited to have this talk, I said, okay, let's talk about what it has been like. So I will start with leadership. I'll try hard not to read the slides, because after this, I would share the slides with Engineer Sharon, and he can share it with whoever. But leadership is an accomplishment of goals through a direction of human assistance. So basically, if you have a leader, you must have followers. This is from Harvard Business Review. And most times when we describe leadership, we're talking about the capabilities of this person. You are describing what the expectations and the competence and the skills that a leader should have. I'm going to move a lot away from as much technicalities. I told Engineer Sean I'm not too much of a technical person, so I would give a lot of stories, I would give a lot of references that would kind of form a bulk of what we will talk about. But it's good for us to know what a leader is, because a leader must inspire, must guide, must influence. We must inspire, we must guide, we must influence. And when we have leaders, we always try to key into some of these things. That's why when we are talking about great leaders, we talk about transformational leaders, because they have these traits. And they must have integrity, empathy, something that as a woman, we are very good at it. That's why we make We'll talk more about this in future. Resilience and decisiveness. So leaders not only set direction, but they foster collaboration, hence the need of a strong followership. A leader must carry all their followers along. Women have played an integral role in the society for years. Although unfortunately, it has not always been in business, but for years we've always played a very dominant role. But now in the business landscape, especially in Nigeria, women are taking the forefront. We are becoming the leaders that we can be. In fact, the most amazing thing about the female leadership now is we're making a mark in the global economy, not just in Nigeria. And it's something that should be applauded, emulated, and respected because it is not easy. And as we are going forward, we will see why it is not easy. Women leadership role has become increasingly important as more women enter the workforce. We know that on average, we have about 35 to 40,000 core members that come into the workforce every year. And a big chunk of it, between 45 and to sometimes 51% are women. But we don't see these numbers. These numbers does not translate to the leadership pyramid, to the top. And we're going to talk about why in this talk. So a leader should be an embodiment of the three C's. What are the three C's? I'm going to start with competence. Basically, know your onions. Personally, I'm a bit biased about the people that are either in my leadership team or people that I call my leaders because I always try to respect my leaders. So when I come to a room and I see my leader, I want to know what you know so that I will learn from you. And a leader should be competent. You should have those skills. That's when we talk about a round peg in a square hole and you know that whole analogy. Because a leader, if you're a leader in HR, you have to be strong in HR. You have to never stop learning. I have a former HR director that I worked with, and first of all, he was one of the most competent HR minds I've ever met. But what I liked about him was that when we are giving tasks, he never claims to know it all. When we are giving tasks, Juliet, this thing we're doing now is consultant work or this task. Okay, how do we do? Or yeah, call your mentor or call this person. Let me see, this is not part of my, let's learn. And there was always a sense of learning. This guy was always willing to learn. In meetings, he said, give me a second, let's call, let's confirm, let's read. And that shows that you're always developing. My father always used to say that a leader should know little of everything. So 1 a.m., you'll see this guy, he would he'll go to his library, open all his encyclopedias, and he'll continue reading because he wants to know little about everything because it starts with competence. If you're a leader and you are competent, you've earned that seat. That is when you have embodied one part of the three C's. The next part is confidence, knowing your value, knowing what you're good at, and conveying it to everybody around you, being assertive, communicating effectively, acknowledging your achievements and acting confident. I worked in one company and first of all, that company was a company that made me realize that I'm not as fantastic as I used to think I was. I used to think, first class graduate, this. When I saw the brains in that organization, not only was I impressed, it humbled me. And so there was this head of HR that always pitting against me. And that guy is comfortably one of the best HR minds I've worked with. And so we had one presentation we were working on. I think it was like 3 a.m. or so that we were supposed to present. I will tell you more about this company and our 3 a.m. meetings. And so they were like, HR, present your strategy. Your time slot is, I think, 3:15. And this was like 12 midnight. And I was asking, how far now? Do you have anything? He said, he has nothing. So I prepared. And I said, okay, send your point. I'll send my points. Let's share it. And by the time we shared our points, I realized that this guy's points was almost mirror my points. Immediately, my confidence level came up. I was like, okay, I'm not as dumb as I thought I was. But that was not the confidence I was talking about. He now told this guy to make this presentation. Oh, God. Till today, I still call him Mr. Multinational. This guy carried my presentation from ABC And this guy, by the time he packaged it, you know, when they say packaging is everything, even me, I was shocked what this guy was talking. By 3 a.m., he was speaking grammar. He was breaking it down. He was throwing all the HR analogies and lingua and everything, and everybody was impressed. Nobody would have believed that it was just there and then that me and this boy developed this thing. And so his confidence was what sold that idea. And that is what a leader should have. When you stand in front of it, they call it the Obama effect. Obama was very confident. He didn't need to be reading speeches. He would just come out and talk. And everybody was impressed. Everybody was, oh, I'm sorry, I just got a note that the network is interrupting. Please, if you cannot hear me or I drop off at any point, please just tell me to go back to any point and I will go. Okay, so we'll continue this about then consistency. A leader should know that success is not one day, it is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you have to be consistent. You have to be able to earn your people's trust. You know, what do we do with politicians? We when they want to sell their market, when they want to sell their image to us, they try to key into their credibility and their level of consistency. And they'll tell you, for instance, our president said he built Lagos. Or more, everybody says, have you seen how beautiful Lagos is? People voted for that. That is basically saying that he sold his past successes and built legitimate trust amongst the people. So a leader must be able to do that. That's why when we go back to confidence, we say acknowledge your achievements. If you are a leader, that was one thing I never knew how to do in the beginning of my career. I was doing, I'm humble, let my work speak for me. Unfortunately, it's a dog-eat-dog world. You need to sell your brand. You need to sell your achievements. You need to go and say, we did this, we did that, we did this, we closed out this, we did this, and impress your colleagues, your bosses, and everything, because everything is a test. Everything is a trial. Okay, I need to move forward. So I try to put where I got most of this information in the bottom so that you can always go back and refer to it. So according to Kingsley's Diversity Matters report, it says that a company that has the representation of women exceeding 30% significantly are more likely to financially outperform those with 30% or fewer or lower. So basically, when you have more than 30%, they're telling, based on this report, we are being made to believe, and with evidence in future, I just want to give a generic overview that when you have this, there are reports that say that truly, I need to also add something. We don't need, that's why if we're bringing our seats to the table, we don't need sympathy or token roles. We don't need gender-based roles. We need to earn our place. So that's why we need to have the 3 C's so that we will significantly earn our position in this 30%. And we'll talk more about that. So it also says companies in the top quartile for both gender and ethnic diversities are in executive teams have 9% more likely to outperform their peers. It's also still selling this ideology. We'll talk more about statistics in future. But we're just basically saying in this particular page, using data, that if your company has this diversity, if your company has more female representation, you are going to have a 30%, so you're going to be significantly outperform people or your peers, especially in the same industry. And it says that if you have female in your board, you are 25% more likely to be in the better than those that are in bottom percentile. So basically, they're saying not just in the general level, the management level, the board level, it is very, very, very important to have female inclusion. Let me move forward. But there are some career barriers that was faced by the female gender. And there's so many barriers, like pictures like this, and these pictures, in this page, I have personally written to a lot of primary schools. that still teach that a woman's place is in the kitchen, and that still sell this ideology. I've written to secondary primary schools, and none of them have responded to my mails. I think I wrote to almost all the textbooks. I picked them up one after the other because I was doing revision with my kids, and I just couldn't fathom how, with the global economy, with the way the society is changing, we are still selling this narrative to our kids that our place is in the kitchen. So this is the expectation of the society. And we need to change it one step at a time. I went for my estate meeting one day, and after we did our introduction, they were sharing tasks. This, you'll be here, and having intelligent conversations. And at the end of the day, they were like, so the party planning team, we have our chairperson there, madam. I'm sorry, I have no issues with party planning. That used to be one of my hustles. Anybody that knows me knows that you can't take me away from cooking. I love to cook. But you are giving a security team, you gave it to the people that you assumed were the best. You are giving other strategic positions. And when it came to party planning, they say, the team members are there. There was a lady sitting beside me, and I was like, I'm sorry, I take exception to that. I would not be in this team because I'm a woman. So please, as much as I love to do that, as much as I can support them, that should not be that's us taking a step, but I'm not talking about how we'll resolve it at this point. I just wanted to give it a reference. In business, if you look at this picture here, you see the men talking and the woman is sidelined. I don't know if it has happened to anybody in business that you see the men talking, they're having ideas, and as soon as the woman walks in, they kind of keep quiet. It's like there is a trade secret. Let's not talk again. Let this person not come in. We can't help it, but that is the society, that is the business world we're in. We need to break that. But it's also part to lack of trust, because sometimes people don't know their onions. They don't embody the 3 Cs, but it's also the business climate, the environment, government. This was very, very painful to see when I was doing our statistics. Since we started our democracy in our national offices, we've had only 157 women, as opposed to the 2,657 men. That's less than 6% of women have been voted into offices. So who will push our female agenda if we don't have our women in the office? Who is going to fight for us if we don't have it? So another barrier, and which I think is one of the most difficult one, is the family, the traditional role of a woman, the homemaker, the protector, the woman that caters and nurtures the society, the cook, the chef, the doctor, the caps we wear that really, really a lot. So these are some of the things that affect women's growth. Okay, Mr. Sean, I've seen it, but I will try to be faster. But before I go further into it, we also need to see that there are successful women out there. For instance, 44% of the CEOs in Nigeria are women. And this is from I think in 2020, we just had one some years ago. Now 11 out of the 25 banks are women. In Hares Holding, you have 40% of the CEOs are women. Then, of course, we talk about the big dogs, the Okonjo-Iwealas, the Aisha Yusufus, I agree, Mr. or Miss Benedict. All these people are top. Oh, okay. Let me come back here. They are top people. I've worked with some of them. Some of them are my mentors, because you need to know the amount of wealth of knowledge. When you say you must know your onions, these women are tested and trusted. They know their onions, and they are representing us so well. Okay, like he said, I am trying to I will just go faster. So powerful advantages of women in leadership, better problem solving. I think there's a survey after COVID that they said female leaders coped better and managed the crisis better in their organizations than male leaders. That was done in US, I think. They have superior skills. And this is things like emotional intelligence, empathy, all these things are important factors of being a woman and also in leadership, greater financial gains and co. So women empowering women, I will still talk about that. Engineer Sean, with all due respect, I would still require a few more minutes to go through the slide, especially what we need to do. So these data, I got some of them from Zenga, Development Dimension International. They are all there showing that women, organizations with female leaders outperform, this is the data, not Nigerian data, but global data, outperform their contemporaries. Please, let's go back and read it in future. Now, what are there seats on the table? Strategies to get one. So whether there are seats on the table or you're bringing your seats, these are the strategies to get one. And I think this is one of the most important aspects of this topic, of this subject. I might take like 5 to 10 minutes on this, then I'm wrapping it up. First, find a work-life integration strategy. I didn't write balance because sometimes it's very difficult to balance it. It's almost impossible to balance it. And since it's almost impossible to balance it, that it's very important that we have female leaders that understand the strains of being a mother, being a wife, you know, all the society pressures. So you have to come up with a strategy. My mentor, then one of the top leaders, her picture is in the other slide. I remember she said that when she started her career, she funded her career. And I asked you, how do you fund your career? And she basically said she had 2 maids, she had a driver, she was earning almost nothing. She had to squeeze herself to ensure that at least there was a balance because she wants to be a successful mom, she wants to be a successful wife, and she's not going to drop her career for any reason. So you have to have a strategy. You have to have open communication. Thankfully, my dad was a feminist, my mom. So before I even got married, he's the one that started the conversation with my husband, prepared the man for the heaven he was about to enter. So it was easier for me to have a conversation that, okay, this is important to me. This is how we're going to do. What do you think? Open communication, because it's not an easy road to just throw at someone. So what advice? Lucky me. I don't. Yeah, very lucky because it's not easy to have that communication. And you won't blame people. You can't expect a man that expects fresh soup every week. When people are dating, you are giving a fresh soup every day. And when you marry, you carry bag and say you want to go to work. No, you have to have that conversation prior to starting your family and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And my career, it worked for me. I moved over 3 or 4 times from Port Harcourt to Abuja to Warri to Benin back to Abuja for my career. Very few husbands would have accepted that. Very few families can do that, but I did it because I had that conversation and I didn't let anything drop. So here's the integration part. I remember when I started my career, I used to tell my bosses, once it's 5 o'clock, I must go home. But the moment I get home and I've settled my kids and the rest, I would get back to work. So if you need me to close anything, if you need me to review anything, in fact, I won't lie to you, when I gave birth to my kids, after I finished, my boss, I will never forget my favorite boss then. He would say, Mama, I called my son's name, welcome, well done, no. Okay, the next day called again, well done, no. Next day called, there's a memo, well done, no, I'm not asking you, but there's a memo that we got from the Chinese partners. And I was like, yes, sir, I've seen it, I'm on it. So 2 days after I gave birth, I was already on my laptop. So, and I try never to, but I don't think I have missed any school events. So no matter my work schedule, I have had conversations, unless I'm out of town, I've had conversations that, okay, I'm going to integrate this, please, I have so. I'm very open with any of my bosses. I have so for my kids' event. I would have to be out of work by this time and this time, but I'll be back and I'll do this. And so I go the extra mile. I'll explain in future, find a gap and plug this gap, why I was giving this flexibility. And that's why every woman too should also have a strategy and open communication. Second thing, hard work and smart work. I'm sorry, but if you want to get a seat, you have to work hard. You have to work 2 or 3 times as hard as your peers. I told you about 3 a.m. meeting. When I started that job, on my first day, I remember we had a meeting, and because of security reasons, we had to close like 6:30 because our office was in a horrible place. And at the end of the day, the man made a comment and was like, oh, sorry, my boss, our ED was like, okay, let's go and regroup and we'll continue by 10 o'clock. And see, it was my first day. The ginger was still hot. And I was like, okay, ma, but we have a meeting for 12 o'clock. And she was like, no, I mean 12 p.m. My man was on a joke with that. Like, I was shocked. That was a huge culture clash for me, and I struggled with that. So what I now had to get used to was 10 a.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12. In fact, 1 a.m. was a normal thing. The next thing, so you have to be willing to work hard. Always be hungry. You have to be hungry for success. I was in a job, best paying job, cushioning job. Basically, all my work was payroll. And I was losing that hunger. I had to start looking for a new job because once you start doing the normal generic work, you're not hungry. There's no growth. You will get the good pay, you get the good cushion house and everything, but it's never enough. I have a friend, and as women, we get complacent, we get comfortable, especially when you're Oga wife, your husband is doing well. I have a friend in Benin. Her husband is doing very well from a rich home, but I have never seen anybody work as hard as that. She is so hungry. And she built her business from 1 to 3 major locations in Benin. Because of this, her hunger, she was like, it's not enough. I need to achieve more. Goes to being consistent. You have to always see, nobody, it's zigzag, it's normal in life, but you have to have a way that your performance is almost at the same trajectory. You also need to understand your environment, work culture. It was a major work clash for me to be doing 2 a.m., 3 a.m. meetings, and you still go to work the next day. But I tried to revolt, but I didn't understand my environment and I had a lot of issues. So you have to understand it. Develop your skills and competence. People will say, we're in civil service. But I have a friend, but we joined CIPM the same time, we got our M the same time. She's in civil service, but I've never seen anybody that does as many trainings and personal growth things like she does, because she's constantly hungry. One of the most important things is find a gap and plug this gap. I'm sorry, Engineer Shen, I have just 3 more minutes. Now, this gap is when you walk into an organization and you see that, okay, something is missing. Let me give a practical example. My former organization, they were moving a lot of us to a new branch. And all of us were jittery, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And one smart girl just knew that this company is looking for something in Ministry of Finance. I know 1 or 2 people. And she just went in, plugged in, nobody asked her. And she went there, made 1 or 2 contacts. This is the next thing, she sent a letter. And when the list of people to go out there, my chairman personally raised her name and said, hey, that girl there, hey, if you know the amount of things she's doing there, she found this gap and she plugged into it, and nobody posted her out of Abuja office. And her name was the number 1 name on that list before. So when you enter an organization, this is the best way to find a seat. Look at the gaps. My former MD used to say it. Find your niche. Look at the gaps. What are we not doing right in this organization? I remember when I got my letter of commendation when I worked in the former organization, and I saw a gap. I saw what the company was doing at that time. It was post-COVID, some initiatives, but it wasn't being done in my own location. So I decided to I came up with a strategy to do something similar and even better. And by the time our president heard of it, he just told our director of HR and said it even in a board meeting, letter of commendation immediately. Immediately you make yourself indispensable. So please, this is the most important, one of the most important things. Find a gap and plug this gap. Okay, and so I don't know if our panelists are already on this call. Engineer Sean, can you confirm if they're on this call? Can you confirm they're on this call?
Yeah, they're all there. They've been there from.
Okay, so today's session promises to be very insightful and inspiring. And So in recent years, we've seen a growing recognition of the vital role of women playing in leadership in various sectors. However, there's much work to be done to ensure women are not just present, but influential decision makers. So we are honored to have a distinguished panel who all introduce themselves. And then they will share their words of wisdoms to everybody before we dive into the question and answer. So please, our panelists, can we all introduce ourselves? I will start from the very first panelist, and we have just like one minute to do that. And once we finish the introduction, we'll move to the main session. So I'll start with Miss, my apologies, Eyono Fatayi-Williams, please. Can you start with your introduction?
Okay, good morning. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. It's still morning. My name is Eyono Fatayi-Williams. I worked with Nigeria LNG for many, 20-something years, odd years, retired as a general manager, external relations and sustainable development. But through the course of my career, I did IT and telecoms. I did commercial administration of oil and gas contracts, and I did human resources, which is why I'm here. Currently, post-retirement, I'm wearing very many caps. I'm president of the Women in Energy Network. It's a network we started in 2020 when we saw the gap in the energy industry in terms of gender diversity. My full-time job, I'm the CEO of a charity called Africa Missions Global, but I'm also a lead or principal consultant in a group of companies. Consulting, we do sustainability, corporate services, coaching and mentoring, leadership, transformation, but focused more on the energy sector. And I sit on a couple of boards in a mortgage bank, in an energy trading company, and in a marine and logistics company. I'm a wife, a mother, and a pastor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, thank you. So the next person on our panel who I would like to introduce herself is Miss Kemi Shonubi.
All right, thank you very much, Juliet. It means you want them to return my bride price. It's Mrs. Shonubi. So if you're not willing to return my bride price, good morning, everybody. Well done, Juliet. We were enjoying your presentation. I know that we needed to cut you off, sorry, but it's good that we're all here together. I'm Kemi Shonubi. I'm also known as the HR storyteller. I work in media and broadcasting, TVC communications, like I believe my profile has read. I've had a beautiful career so far because I've worked in different industries. I've been blessed. I've worked in tech, I've worked in transport, logistics. I've worked with a group of companies that supported oil and gas, alternative energy. I started out as an accountant, and that story for another day. But I will tell you that transitioning into HR a couple of years ago has been one of the best decisions. I do many other things beyond daily HR business. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a teacher, and a lover of life. Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Mrs. Shonubi. Actually, I use Miss because in a professional platform, you don't have to say Miss or Mrs. So it's MS. But no, they cannot reduce your bride price in this economy. They cannot return
You get it. You get it. Thank you.
Okay, so finally, Miss Bertina Bamgbose. Apologies if I pronounce your name wrong.
Okay, good morning, everyone that's on this call. Well done, Juliet. That was a very brilliant presentation. Thank you so much. My name is Bertina Bamgbose. My noble goal is to enrich our people with radiance so that they can advance in life. I'm a people operations specialist, and I'm a people engagement enthusiast. I'm a certified emotional intelligence professional. I have about 2 decades of experience as a human resource professional and 10 decades experience in advertising and consulting. I'm an alumnus of the Lagos Business School, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and University of Benin. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a missionary. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a friend. And I'm radiant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. And I'm the final panelist, but I've talked a lot, so I will try not to talk too much. Everybody has introduced themselves. So the first question I would like to ask everyone, and please, can we just respond in 1 minute each, or sorry, 2 minutes each. So looking back at your career, what are the key decisions and experiences that stand out as instrumental in propelling you to where you are now? So I will start with, as usual, with the way we started, please. I will start with Miss Eyono Fatayi-Williams, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Kemi. And I'm sorry, I forgot to say thank you for a very inspiring presentation. We'll borrow a lot of your quotes, really practical. I think what has, in terms of key decisions or experiences that have stood out, even as I look back over so many years, it's knowing when to quit on something, knowing when you should stop digging in, when you need to move on. And for somebody like me who's done many things, because as you're going on a leadership journey, you will go through different roles that will help you build competencies. It's knowing when to move from one stage to another, when to move when the ovation is loudest and to quit from one stage or another. I think if there's one lesson I've learned is don't resist change. Don't resist change, be resilient and be ready to adapt to change, be at the forefront of change. I say this because in my last job, when we were moved, the head office was moved from from Lagos to Port Harcourt, it dislocated the company. This was 2 or 3 years or 4 years, long before COVID. But when I moved into the HR role, as a woman, I recognized the dislocations and we had a work-life balance long before COVID, where we had flexi work built in all those things. So just adapt to change and then use it to challenge the status quo and chart a new course for the company or whatever initiative you're on. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, that's a wonderful one, actually. So we should adapt to change and we should be flexible. Okay, so the next person, please, can you respond to the decisions and experiences? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juliet. I think for me, the first one will be that we need to accept that failure is a part of life and learn how to get up despite failing. Most of us, if we go through our CVs, and when I say CVs, not the physical document, but if we're asked to reel out everything we've achieved or every stage of our career, there are times we failed because a lot of people focus on success. We don't take note of the failures, but failing is a part of life. And those are the things I look back at and I'm like, okay, I failed in this thing or I didn't do well in it, but how well did I get back up? How did I reposition myself to learn from that? The next one for me will be remaining in a state of hunger. Now, when I say hunger, it's not hungry for eating food, but hunger for knowledge, hunger for more. Because as a leader, or if you're aspiring towards leadership, you must know, and I think you mentioned it, Juliet, when you were talking in one of the examples where you had a leader who would not say he knows everything, so being hungry for knowledge. The last one I will say, and it's going to come up in some of my responses, I'm sure, when you spoke about the 3 C's, I like to add the 4th one, courage. That's one thing that has stood out for me in my career. Like I mentioned in the brief, introduction, I've gone through it's almost like somebody traveling from one continent to the other by sea, right? You have to be a leader of courage. You have to be a person of courage, because things will come at you that you never believed will happen, and learning how to position yourself for the next stage. So those will be my 3 things I would say are my lessons or decisions or experiences that shaped how I am and where I'm headed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kemi. And we'll keep on learning from them, from our failures as well as our successes. Please, Mrs. Bertina, please, can you share with us your, this, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Having a growth mindset has actually helped me to stand out in terms of my career and bringing a lot of innovation into the HR space. You know, over the years, HR has been evolving. And we know it used to be personnel management. And when you talk about HR, people coming to the HR office have this mindset of fear. The first thing that comes to any employee's mind when you say HR wants to see you is this fear. And the way we have carried out our roles as HR practitioners has been with a lot of people just have this attitude of fear towards us. And for me, bringing in innovation, doing things with a bit of difference has actually helped me in terms of, okay, how do we go about our learnings? How do we go, how do we handle even things like exit? So bringing things like innovation to recruitment, the way I go about the recruitment, coming with something different, something innovative, using technology to bring something new to the recruitment space in terms of training, things like gamification, using technology in training, just having a growth mindset and using a lot of innovation, and then bringing, so people can have an unforgettable experience whenever they come in contact with us in HR. When it comes to employee engagement or doing employee surveys, all those have helped me, because in terms of my years of work in HR, coming with something innovative, approaching my work differently, adding some spice to the traditional way of doing HR has actually helped me to stand out in the HR space.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And you do stand out in the HR space. Okay, so now the next question, I would want us to have a practical example so that we'll try to give it as much anonymity as possible so that it can be something that we can all kind of, it's more practical, it can be easier to interpret to us and attach meanings to all of us individually. So now, I know that Kemi spoke particularly about challenges. So can we think of one particular hurdle on our leadership path that we all faced? And if we look back, what would we have done differently? One particular life-changing hurdle we faced in our career, that gap that we don't want to talk about in our CV, or probably it didn't appear on our CV, but how we would have done it differently. So this time around, I'm going to start from Mrs. Bertina, if you don't mind.
One particular hurdle I want to talk about is managing industrial relations. I work in manufacturing, and we are unionized. So I have to deal with the Senior Staff Association and then the Junior Staff Union. In the food and beverage industry, our unions are very vocal. They are quite powerful. And in that space, we have more of men than women. So like I have to be dealing with a lot of men. And when I joined the organization, the men, for them, I mean, seeing a woman and you are coming to relate with a woman, negotiate with a woman, one of the challenges I have that they have to pep themselves up. What I mean pep, take something so that when they are talking to me, they are able to say things. And when you're negotiating with them, they are able to like use insulting, derogatory words to be able to pass their message across. So when I talk about innovation, I had to look at ways. How am I going to manage talking to over 100 men? I was dealing with more than 2,000 men. In our sector, women are very few. Just now, we're bringing a lot of women. We're doing a lot of inclusion of women now. At the time I joined, you will have 500 women. I'll be the only woman in the room, and it was quite challenging. What I would have done differently in my early years, I was able to get a mentor that helped me at that time. But what I know now, if I knew it then, things would have been done differently. I've had industrial relations crisis where they had to down tools for weeks. If I was like everywhere, placard, Bertina must go. You understand? It was my first acid test in industrial relation. It shook me in every way, emotionally, everything, because you have angry men. There are no women, angry men carrying placards. I had to get the work as early as 6 a.m. because they had shut down the factory and the company was losing money. Nobody wants to know what costs. Everything is like, it's HR. And I had to do everything I can to make sure that work comes back and there was stability. Now, in that space, what did I do? The first one was that at that time, there was fear. It was my first experience. But because I was already in an association and I was attending the meetings, I was regular in the meetings. So I knew some people who had been in the HR space before me. I knew the director of the Nigerian Flour Mills was a lady, Maria Uraya. And then the HR director of 7up, Mr. Mokiko. These were the people I had to leverage on that relationship, and they kept counseling me on how to manage both the branch union and their national. When you're dealing with unions, they can post you. They can tell you stories that are not real. In fact, it got to the point we had to bring in the Nigerian police to make sure that things were not destroyed. But that early relationship helped me. They tutored me on how to manage the industrial crisis. And I'll say, to the glory of God, I was able to surmount those challenges. And when subsequent challenges came, because of that initial experience, I was able to, manage whatever other challenges that came. Because in manufacturing, at that time, we were doing manual. Everything was manual. You are signing 2,000 cards, attendance cards manually. And we're like, okay, we need to use time and attendance, the biometric. And the people said no, because they felt you were going to do what? Reduce what they were earning. You were going to stop a lot of benefits they were getting. But we were able to survive because being patient, insistent, we were able to crossover from using manual to begin to use the biometric time and attendance, which is what we're using now. I just want to say this, in those processes, your management may not understand some things that you're doing. And you may not get 100% backing from your management, because as far as management is concerned, union, whatever they say, precedes everything HR is going to say. So it takes a lot of courage, a lot of understanding to be able to stand between both your management and the union. And that's the learnings from those experiences helped me to survive or succeed, in relating with both management and the union.
Thank you very much, Ma. So Ms. Eyono, please Mrs. Eyono, please can you also respond to the question? A particular scenario in your career that you would have probably done differently.
I didn't, sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much, Juliet. Thank you. You can call me Eyono, it's fine. Thank you very much, Juliet. I think looking back, just thinking as the sister was speaking, my first assignment in HR, that I had no HR background in terms of professional HR and had to sink or swim, was to handle the severance, the disengagement of over 50 staff. So I found myself in a position where what had been negotiated before I got there, I thought was not overly fair. So you find yourself in a situation where you're negotiating both with management to get a bit more, yet the people you are negotiating for see you as the devil because you are the face of the company, asking them to go at a time when they do not want to go. So one thing I learned then, what helped was you need courage. Mrs. Kemi spoke about it. You need, Mrs. Kemi Shonubi spoke about it, you need a lot of courage to walk into a room of hostile people. Some would get up, curse your dead grandmother. Others will get up and cry. Some will get up and abuse the company from head to toe. And you're just there to repeat what a board has approved. So you need a lot of courage. But what I have learned today is that you need collaboration, which is okay, but you need allies. I think as women in particular, allyship is something that we are discovering today. If we knew it when some of us were still in HR as managers, it would have been much, but you need people on your side. You need to have allies. You need to have people speaking for you. Eventually, well, it was what it was. The board had approved, they left, took the company to court, did all sorts of things. But what helped was, looking back at your 3 C's, the consistency. We had a team, you have to work as a team, consistent. The consistency helped. Being sure of what we wanted helped. I had some very, very competent HR people with me. But I think looking back, just having allies, building more collaboration and more bridges well before you need it. I was 3 months on the job. So if you're an HR manager today, looking back, building those bridges and the relationships you need in the day of trouble are the things that if I had done them before I got there, but I didn't have the opportunity, it would have made it a lot easier. There's no easy way of disengaging anybody if he doesn't want to go. So good or bad, it leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth. But it was a learning experience. It helped me cut my teeth. But please, the one word I would give, build allies, have collaborations, build relationships, because in HR, you will need them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And to add to that, and okay, this is a note for everyone. I would start adding in questions that people are putting in the question conversation portal. So you can send in your questions and I will throw it in and give it to a panelist to respond. To add to this particular question, I know I had something in my career then, and you had a board approval. I didn't. So that was my first flaw. A major policy change was agreed by the entire board, or was orally transmitted to me with a timeline. And I went with my full chest. Know your culture, organization culture, because once I announced this and there was a backlash, it was denounced, as in everybody went back and I was left alone with my hand standing up like, did they say this? Who gave the approval? When was this done? And I had barely any paperwork to back up my position. So yes, next time if I'm given that opportunity, I would first of all leave such a huge announcement to the head of the organization. And even if there's an imposition, I will make sure I have a board approval first, so that if I go in there, I'm protected. We also need to all protect ourselves. So thank you very much for this. I'll go to the next question. And
Juliet, sorry, I wanted to add to that,
okay,
because
that's fine.
I know you have a lineup of questions or answers. But it was important that I speak up here because we're also addressing a lot of HR people on this call. And I would say that one of the toughest hurdles I had to navigate would have been, even managing the expectations and understanding the psyche of a CEO. Because a lot of times as HR people, we tend to fall into the trap of, I'm fighting for the people. I'm here for the people. I know what the people want. I am passionate about the people. Forgetting that while all of what I've said is very fantastic, if there's no alignment of the vision of the organization and the people agenda, then you failed. So I think that was one of my biggest lessons in the earlier stage of my HR career. Being able to navigate. So I thought I had the confidence. I believed I had the courage. Competency, you could say yes, but competencies are seen from different lenses. And it wasn't being seen from the lens of the CEO I was working with then. So yes, I was admired. I was doing the right thing, I thought. I was doing everything that was required. But there was no sync between understanding the business objective entirely and the HR and, you know, alignment of the HR vision and the HR strategy and all of that. So like you've all said, you know, having allies is very important. And allies doesn't have to be male or female. It can be a mix of both. Internal allies, you know, people outside, well, your mentors or your coaches. You also have to work on emotional intelligence, being able to understand the nuances and read the room. And of course, having a soundboard. Having a soundboard is, it could be one person, some people who you share your ideas with, you sort of bounce things off them. So for me, I thought it was important to mention that that's one of the hurdles I dealt with, you know, being able to align with the vision of the organization through the CEO. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. So the next question, before I take one from everyone else, I'm going to ask just two panelists this, and I'm going to ask Miss Eyono. I'm sorry, I will still call you Miss Eyono. Can you mention your most inspirational leader, and can you explain why? So I'm going to ask Kemi and Miss Eyono this. Your most inspirational leader, female leader, and why?
Okay. There are two people, there are three people, there are so many, but the three that stand out, and then I'll zero in on one. The three that stand out for me are Mrs. Olushola Momo, the vice, I think she's vice chairman of the Channels Media Group. She stands out for me. Obieze Ekwesili, who was very controversial in her time, but had the courage and the boldness and the integrity to push through whatever she wanted. And the third, and maybe the one I'll talk about, my favorite for several reasons, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. She brought undeniable value to her role. And if you were to pick who the brightest or the most impactful ministers were, federal ministers were in her time, she had to be in the top one or top two or top three. So I liked that, performing, excelled at what she does. She was in a male-dominated sector place, but she did her bit. In spite of being surrounded by Nigeria is corrupt, she came out scandal-free. There were some things thrown at her, but her ministerial appointments demonstrate the fact that she worked with integrity. There is no way, if she was ridden with scandal, that they wouldn't have come out when she was going on for being the lead of the World Trade Center. There is no way the World Bank would have employed her if she had scandal. So for me, she did her job with integrity. She made a difference. She pushed boundaries. And one thing that the first time I really took a look at her, I was still at Nigeria LNG at the time. We had a major problem with one of the agencies of government. So for 3 weeks, we were not allowed to evacuate our cargo. So the plant virtually was shutting down. The people in Petroleum Resources did not come and see us. Nobody else from government came, but she came. And so we were interested, why did you come? And she said she had a shortfall in her revenue. She needed to know where that shortfall came from. She realized that there's a company that gives her a certain amount of revenue every month, and that company hadn't given. She saw it was this company. Also, there is a problem going on, and she got involved. And whether she was instrumental to it or not, but she got involved and the problem was solved. So for me, she's my all-time favorite. Obviously, she's planned her career. She's done the right things. She's prepared herself for whatever else might come. So she remains my all-time favorite.
Thank you very much, Ryan. She is one of my favorites too. Okay, Kemi, you have the floor.
Okay, because of time, just like Ms. Eyono said, you know, if we start reeling out, I'm sure we'll call almost 100 names because we have different people that we admire in different fields, politics, governance, you know, business, you know, HR. But one of the women that, she's not Nigerian, but I've admired from afar for long, I read up on everything that, you know, concerns her, is a woman called Indra Nooyi. Indra Nooyi. She used to be the former CEO of PepsiCo, Indra Noish, you know, Asian descent. And in summary, I think the things that stood or stand out for me, beyond the fact that she had a BSc in physics, chemistry, and maths, you know, so you start off as a mathematician, scientist, and then you now become the CEO of such a global, huge global brand. And it wasn't a fleeting period she spent there. She transitioned from different roles before she became the CEO. And that for me tells a story, because a lot of us as HR persons don't believe that transitioning is possible. You know, you may have started off even as a data analyst. I was talking to one of my mentees the other day, and she has an interest in HR. So there's immense possibilities in transitioning, and it could even be transitioning into HR. But her qualities that stood or stand out for me, there's embracing diversity. You know, if you read up on her and the things, the landmark achievements she did for Pepsi, you know, you see that at different times, yes, somebody says bold and confident. Even when she speaks, you know, it comes from a place of, I know what I'm saying, I have the competence to say what I'm saying. So embracing diversity, it's a mindset, and those are reasons why I sort of align with her, because those are some of my values also. She's committed to lifelong learning. And I said that at the beginning. As a leader, you must position yourself to be someone who is not averse, but ready to embrace lifelong learning. Things will come at us. Imagine when the pandemic came. In fact, many people will tell you that that was actually when HR had the opportunity to be in the spotlight. But you only could take the opportunity if you understood the times and the trends. So that's number 2 of her qualities. I think the other one is resilience. And I usually say that resilience is a hip pocket skill that every woman, every person, but especially women, need to develop, because things will come at you. Now, all of us, when we're talking about our challenges of surviving the hurdles, what will separate us from others that did not rise from that failure is the fact that you're saying, I can't give up. This has happened. I've learned from this. So I would say embracing diversity, lifelong learning, resilience, you know, being a skill that we all need. And she is synonymous with leadership and success. So that's the person I would speak about.
Okay, thank you so much. And this question, the next question is for Mrs. Eyono and Mrs. Bertina, because someone in the group just sent this or sent it a while ago, and it's something I would tell you that we never touch. So I want to pass it on to you. They said, what advice would you give a woman that does not have a success, what word did they use? A supportive partner? How would you manage this if you do not have a supportive partner in your career journey? So please, you have the floor, Ms. Bertina.
Sorry, I want to understand the supportive partner. I want to believe is the husband.
The husband is not supportive towards the wife's career. So what advice would you give the wife if she wants to be a leader, a female leader in her career?
Well, that's a very I will say this is for us women, especially those of us who want to grow, it's not every man that has that capacity to see the wife succeed. Most of us women believe, oh, because it's my husband, whatever I want to do, he will support me. Most, I won't say most, let me not generalize. There are some men that cannot manage successful women. So for me, what I would advise that she needs to understand him, understand how he's wired, and not compare him with her dad or her brother. You know, when you were doing your presentation, you said something, your dad was supportive. He's like a feminist. That was your word, if I heard you correctly. Most men are not in that space. Some men believe women, you cannot go beyond the kitchen and the other room. And then we are in this position that we believe we'll have to develop our careers. We have to become somebody. We're now seeing ourselves. We are valuable. We're not living those traditional space. The way we were brought up to believe that some of us, not all of us, were brought up to believe that we cannot go beyond this level. It's not that women are trying to break out of that space. The church, the tradition has limited us. If you're even in the church as a woman, there are some things you can do. So it's like, where do I go from here? I will just say this to the person that asked that question. My dear sister, you have to understand him and have this conversation continuously with him. We're not competing with our husbands. We're supporting them. We're not competing. Let them understand it is not a competition. I'm here. We're together in this to support you. It will require patience. We've all been saying one word, courage. It will require your patience. It will require your courage. Your faith will be tested. You will be tried. But persevering and holding on, it will take a while. This is somebody that has formed, so he's been wired in a particular way before you got married. So it will take some time for him to begin to do what? Get himself out of that space. Apart from understanding, you have to be patient and constant communication. And of course, a lot of courage to be there. Some women are lucky to have supportive husbands. Some are not. Some are not. And we are not going to judge anyone who is not blessed to have a supportive husband. If you are in that space, it requires, if you have your faith, you have to keep praying. You have to keep trusting. You have to keep having courage. And you have to be open to keep communicating. Anger will not solve it. Bitterness will not solve it. Regret will not solve it. Judging yourself will not solve it. You have to be open. And again, in that space, please remember to take care of yourself. Your mental health, especially in this space, is important. Your mental health, keep loving yourself and keep believing it will get better. Keep believing you're valuable. Your light will shine. It will come out. It will come out, and we trust God that one day he will see that light. He will come to see that light. That's what I would like to share.
Thank you so much for that response, because I know it's resonating with a lot of people on this call. Ms. Eyono, please, can you add a little more words of wisdom on this?
Okay, yeah, just to follow up on what Bertina has said. I think for me, I would like to encourage you. I know someone whose husband is exactly the way you've described it, but she pursued a career and became a consultant and did very well in her practice. So it is possible. That's the first thing I'll tell you. I think the second thing is, maybe borrowing from, expanding on what Bertina said, is have an understanding of why doesn't he want you to be a leader? What is the why? I view every problem, even home problems, as how would I deal with this if this was at work? What is the picture I want to see, and how do I work towards that? So why doesn't he like this? Is it about his ego or something? So you have that understanding. You must work on your work-home alignment. You know, as Kemi said, I don't call it balance. I call it an alignment. The two have to align. You have to work on it. There's a lot you will sacrifice for that alignment to work. How can you support him to look good in the things that he likes doing? A lot of sacrifice. I'm speaking also from a position of having gone through this very early in my career, but you know, God intervenes and things change. But so how can you support him? What makes him think? But above all, you need wisdom. Women, we talk too much. You go home, I led this team, I did this. Who asked you? So the more you say those things, the more you are making him feel, she has moved on. No? Keep your mouth shut. Conserve your energy for the conversations that matter. but work on that alignment. What sacrifices will I make on the social scene so that I can spend more time and put food on the table? Does he want fresh food? I had a colleague who had a husband who demanded cook every day. And in conversation, an older woman said, prepare everything, have cooked and put in the freezer. When you enter the kitchen, you are bringing out the meat. It was already boiled. The tomatoes already cooked. The four has been cut, and you are just mixing it. 10 minutes, you're out. If that's what he wants, at some point it will change. But please work on the alignment. You must be wise. Antagonizing him doesn't solve the problem. You cannot change the fact that in our culture, he's the boss. His ego is larger than Mount Kilimanjaro, and you have to deal with it. Watch your communication, watch your speech. Discussions that are not necessary in trying to prove a point, drop them. But where there are opportunities, have a discussion to show what value you bring to the family by the things that you do. So get a coach. Seriously, get somebody who will mentor you, who has walked down this path. And you'll find that at the end of the day, when you understand what motivates him, why he's doing that, it will not be an emotional thing, but have emotional intelligence. Keep your mouth shut. Speak when it is necessary about work. Speak when it is necessary about work. A lot of women, if I were to talk about some of the transactions I handled, the places I went to in the early days of my career, I don't think I'd be sitting here today because it would have intimidated anybody. So you measure the things that you say, and when you think he's ready to you should absorb the things that you are doing and where you are, then you can talk about them in measured steps. Today, my husband is my greatest ally. When I retired, he called the whole family. She can't sit at home. You must go out there, do something, do this, do that. It's a journey. You will walk through it. And if you listen to those who have been through it, I'm sure that you will walk through it as well. Back to you.
Thank you so much for that. We got a lot of, we need to be wise when we are dealing with our spouses whose egos have been likened to Mount Kilimanjaro. But seriously, we need wisdom. It's something that we need to be praying for every single day. And thank you for that question. Okay, before I go back to what the team or everyone else has asked, let me ask another question that has been prepared. Apologies for the slight delay. And this question is going to go to Mrs. Kemi. And the question is, Ms. Kemi and Ms. Bertina, please. In your experience, what would you look for when you're hiring someone to a leadership position? Hiring and promoting someone to a leadership position. So you have the floor. I will start with Mrs. Kemi.
Okay, Juliet, don't mind me. Kemi is fine. Kemi Shonubi. I heard, when I was doing Mrs., it's just so that people know that I'm looking for money. This economy is so I needed to, you have to look for money everywhere. So don't mind me. I'm Kemi Shonubi, KS or HR storyteller. I was before the Mrs. anyway. So what am I looking for before we hire or promote somebody into a leadership position? I would say somebody that has passion, because you can only do so much if you don't have the passion for the job. It's not enough to say I want to be an oga, I want to be a manager, I want to be a leader. It's not just a position they dash somebody. It's something, we always say leadership is influence, is impact. And if you do not have what it takes to fit into those two descriptors, then, you're not a leader. So you have to have the passion for the job, for the role, for the position. The other one will be drive. Drive and passion are almost similar, but drive stems from having the right energy. Energy can be that, you used an example, Juliet, where you were saying, there's a particular job, you now shifted to having meetings at 3 a.m. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can accommodate that, I need to sleep. But you realize that was a season. And you needed to provide what was required in that season. I'm sure you don't do that till today, but are you ready to step up to the plate? So you have to have the right drive. The other one will be, I come back again to, there has to be value alignment with the organization. So I want to promote somebody from within. What are your values? How have you been displaying, whether you've worked in the company for 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, how do your values align with those of the organization? Are you someone who is reliable, who is dependable, who, for example, if integrity, well, I believe every organization wants integrity, but depending on the role, if integrity is one of the hallmarks of that role, have you displayed that at every point in time? Confidentiality, for example, I was having this conversation with members of my team the other day. If I'm looking out that this is a very sensitive position, and in your career, in the time you've been in the organization, you've exhibited that you are not able to keep, things confidential. That's something I'll be looking out for. And I think lastly for me will be, how invested or committed are you to growth? Growth for yourself, growth for your team members, because we have managers who don't want, anybody else to be at the same level as they are. I'm sure we know them. They want people to be subservient. They want to be the smartest person in the room. And most times they are operating from a barrel that is very empty. So those are the things I would be looking out for if I'm called into the room to say, these are the people that we're considering to grow into the next level. You tick them on my box. So it's not about speaking the best English, because people know how to do that these days. They come and start speaking one and one and one, and that's not it. It is that, do you have what it takes to move the organization forward? Do you have what it takes to lead other people through impact and influence?
Okay, Ms. Bertina, I think you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I think Kemi has said most of the things that are very key for someone to be promoted to leadership position. I just want to add one other. I think she also mentioned it earlier. Someone that is committed to lifelong learning. A leader must be committed to lifelong learning for himself and for his team. It must be a commitment, must be passionate about his team growing, knowing the current trends, everything about learning, must have a growth mindset. I also want to add again for emphasis, a team builder, someone that nurtures people, mentor that must be passionate about nurturing the people who are working with him, collaborating with others, not building silos, not keeping a bad book or a record book. Must be someone that's ready to build people, collaborate with people. And we cannot take for granted the fact that someone that wants to be promoted to a leadership position must know about the company business, the company's core value, not just talk about the core values, but live the company's core values. Whatever your company's core values are, understand the company vision, the company mission, the values, and live the values, not just talk about it. Of course, he must be an expert in what he in the role that he's playing. He must know everything about that role. He must be a professional to the core. Again, what is his style of communication? How does he put his thought across, not just to his team members, but to his other colleagues, and of course, even to his to management? You won't want to be promoted to leadership position when you cannot relate with both the management and your colleagues. So it must be somebody whose communication skill is high, as well as his emotional intelligence. His IQ, his EQ must be top-notch. Those are the things I just want to add to it.
Okay, thank you so much. From both answers, we talked about passion and continuous learning. And there was something Kemi said that I just want to link to when we're talking about passion and hunger, link to a question someone asked, which I would answer partially, then I would leave Mrs. Eyono to conclude. And they said, is it possible that there are women who are okay with not being hungry for success? And is there something wrong with that? And this constant hunger, does it lead to a lot of stress and dissatisfaction? So now I like to believe that I want to give a positive face to feminism. There is nothing wrong with a woman saying that she wants to be, for instance, a full-time housewife. I hate when we look down on women that choose that path. Because I won't lie to you, I have done hard jobs in my life, but I think that is one of the most difficult jobs. So if as a woman within your comfort zone, you feel that, no, this hard life is too much for me, I am better as an Oga wife, that is okay. I saw someone writing something earlier that I should bring my wife to hear this thing. Oga, please, if your wife doesn't want to, she doesn't want to work, it is okay too. That's why we should have all these conversations before we get married. And the second part of the question, when someone said, constant hunger, does it lead to a lot of stress and personal dissatisfaction? The truth, yes. We can sugarcoat it and we can say however we want to do it, but the stress level, especially when you get to the top, is quite high. So you have to get a lot of coping mechanisms to deal with it. That's why there was a company I worked for, we work hard, we play hard. I actually play hard. I have a lot of downtime. I do. Someone says, baby girl, yes, life. I say, yes, I am a executive baby girl. So I'm an executive and I also take out time to take care of myself. There's a self-care, mental health care. I do my spa treatments. I find a way to relax, find what it is to work with, what works for you and adopt it. I love to cook. I love to entertain. So I always have barbecues in my house. All these Abuja people, please don't come. I'm joking. So yes, we do all these things to balance and manage our stress because it can be stressful. That's the truth. So Mrs. Eyono, the question is it okay for women, is it possible for women to be okay with not being hungry? Because Kemi said you should be passionate. Hunger and passion they go side by side. So is it okay for you not to be passionate? And if you are, this constant hunger, does it lead to a lot of stress? Please balance your hunger though. Please, you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that a passionless person in life will never fulfill whatever it is God created you for. Whether it's I mean, forget work. People who don't have passion about what they do, you just become average. And nobody average brings value to the table. Nobody average makes a difference. Why do you want to sit back and let others solve the issues around you for you to enjoy? That's being selfish. Why is it that you have some innate talents and it's okay to put your feet up and others go out and do all the hard grind so that you can just coast through? That's being selfish. And when you become irrelevant, when you don't affect your environment, life moves on without you. And you will wake up at some stage and find that somewhere along the line, you've disconnected. Being hungry and passionate and wanting to learn, maybe we are misinterpreting it. It's okay to say, I don't want to have a paid career. I want to have a home career to look after the children, home career to look after my husband. If that's what you've chosen, then let it be clear what value you bring to him. When he gets home, can he discuss his business with you? When he gets home, have you listened to the current affairs, what's going on, to have an intelligent discussion with him that helps him to unwind, if that is the career you have chosen, because it is a career. When he comes home with his colleagues and whatever, is he proud of his environment? Go and read up about this man who did NBL, Felix Ohiwere. I can't remember whether or not his wife actually worked or didn't work, but from his life story, I've listened to him. He's one of those who, although he has not mentored me directly, mentored me from afar. She mentored me from afar, not directly, but she was an integral part of his success. I don't remember her being the MD of a bank. But you cannot talk about that man's success without his wife, for those who knew him professionally. You must have passion. If you don't have it, go and look for it. Madam Kemi, thank you very much. Every woman here, please wake up and have passion. Otherwise, you wake up and become irrelevant. Then tomorrow you complain that your husband is looking at one girl who has passion. Let's break it down to the home level. You must have passion because that passion helps you add value to him and have value to your home. So if you want to be a homemaker, don't say you don't want to do anything. Being a homemaker is a job. Your home being in tip-top condition, your husband being proud of what you do, and that adding value to his life. There was a poem, one of the MDs we had, his life and his wife was an integral part of his life, yet she was not the MD. But people feared her as if she was the MD because they knew that very sharp lady, very intelligent, and they knew that she was a part of his life. So there's nothing wrong with not wanting to work in a secular job, but wanting to work at home. So make your home $1 billion balance sheet home. If you are not doing that, then you better get off. Let me not use bad language. You better get up and get a job. But please, I plead with all women, if you don't have passion, at some stage, life will happen and you will wake up and ask what happened. I'm over 60, so I can tell you from experience that I have colleagues who have woken up and realized that somehow, somewhere along the line, life happened and they're just trying to catch up. Regret is one of the worst feelings in life. You don't want that. So please find the passion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So we must not have or lead a passionless life. We have just about 17 more minutes, so I will take 3 more questions for each panelist. So if you have any question, please write it in and I can ask. For now, I will start with Miss Bertina. How important is mentorship, and how do you recommend finding in female leadership? And how do you recommend finding and cultivating this relationship?
Mentorship is very important. Very important. I remembered when I started earlier, I didn't call it mentorship. My first challenge, industrial relations challenge, that almost spanned, I think about 3 months. But I was able to pull through that challenge because I had 2 people that mentored me. For us to get, how do I find mentorship? I'll say the very first place is either with your colleagues or your professional association. I want to say this to those of us who are in the HR space. HR is a people-centric profession. We need to develop relationships. Every one of the panelists in one way or the other have mentioned relationship. We need to develop relationship. What is mentorship? It's about relationship with somebody who has experience. We need to be able to leverage on relationships with experienced professionals for us to be able to succeed in this room, especially as women. Especially as women, we need to be able to have a mentor. I remember the Mrs. Eyono said something about when she was working, having a coach. The way she was talking about the lady who asked the question earlier, that look, have a coach, a mentor is very important in this career. We cannot know it all. You wake up each day, there are new trends, there are new things happening. And I used to tell myself, I can have my to-do list today, and I'm coming to the office. I want to say this practically. I work in manufacturing. You can come to the office with your to-do list. As you're stepping into the office, there is a major challenge on the factory floor. What you have planned to do can just go, I mean, you won't even touch it for that day. And when you work in a unionized environment, anything can trigger an IR issue. You cannot know it all. We were not taught all these things in the university. There is no book that can tell you about it. They are real life experiences. And some people have gone through it. I remembered when Kemi was saying something about understanding your management. Yes, I had that same challenge. When we were going to lay off some people, management had come, this is what they are going to do. And of course, young, I took it, hook, line, and sinker, and I went to the union. Oh, management, this is what they said they would do, nothing more, nothing less. And by the time I was through with my management said, the backlash was something else. In fact, the management that said, took a step back, watching me. What is she going to do? It was the mentors that I had at that time. So having a mentor is very important in this profession. And we can get our mentors from senior colleagues. It's not everybody that can mentor you. So we have to be wise and we have to know who we are approaching to be a mentor. But in our association, we have a number of people who are experienced, who have gone through this process, who have experience. I'm not talking of experience, book knowledge, real life experience. I'm sure if you go to someone like Kemi now who has tasted what it means to have been left by her management, in trying to do something in her organization, she'll be able to tell you more. Madam can even tell you the same thing. We all need mentors. We don't know it all. So we need our mentors to put us through. Like someone said, you cannot, if you're going to leverage on your own experience, you will not succeed. You need to ride on the back of those who have gone through that experience before. It will help us to succeed in our roles. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much. We need to find mentors. Please, after now, I think we have some solid mentors here. Please, let's all reach out. Engineer Sharon, I'm sure you will share out people's information. Please, I think you should reach out to Engineer Sharon because we have wonderful, strong mentors. And someone said the diverse generations. Me, I'm the baby girl generation, Sha. So we're all here for all the support required. Someone asked the question, and I will answer this question. It says, identifying and filling a gap. She's talking about working as a graduate, transitioning from graduate trainee to in construction and is in a one-man business and doesn't think that the boss is giving her the required support to be able to find that gap. Because like I said in my, when I had this keynote address, I said, you need to find a gap if you want to bring a seat, especially if there is no seat there. So I would answer it and I would like Ms. Kemi to add whatever she feels is required to this answer. So she said, how will she find that gap so that she can close the gap? So now I would have to say that this is very, very, it's not one answer. We can't give you one answer and it's generic for everybody because we have different organizations and they all have their different individual gaps. Every organization has a gap. So you now have to use your HR and perceptive lens to look into it. It might be a small thing. Let me give an instance. When I worked in the power plants, when they were transitioning from construction to core generation, there was this particular engineer that came in as a cook. And whenever he was a cook, but whenever they needed any additional support, this guy was there. People almost thought that he worked 24 hours because he was there at all times to give the required support whenever needed. And so after a while, when the organization needed an additional engineer for one small role, immediately everybody called his name. And they were like, this guy, he's very hardworking, he technically sound, he knows this, he knows it, because he was there and he made his presence visible. And by doing this, he was closing the gap and he was taking that seat on that table that was required for the future role. So it needs your consistency, it needs your intentionality to be able to close this gap and hard work. So I would leave it to Kemi to add anything I left out here. And
thank you, Juliet. Yeah. So if I understand the question, I was trying to, I heard your response, but the person is asking, how do I step into a gap in the organization? How do I identify a gap? Is that what it is?
Identify a gap so that she will be noticed for a leadership role.
Okay, so first of all, I believe that we were all created to be solution providers. We were all created. Human beings are created to fix problems, to bring up solutions to problems, right? And that in itself means that there's no space you're in, that there's no problem people are, there's no company that doesn't have problems. At every stage, every day, every month, there's something, people problems, resources problems. When I say resources, it could be asset problems, it could be technology issues. And like you've already rightfully said, even though your role you may not be required to do XYZ things, there'll be projects that'll be thrown at you. There'll be company-wide projects. It could even be something as mundane as the company is rolling out. It may not be mundane, but a CSR project. Do you put your hand up to say you want to jump on that, participate? Because what happens is sometimes, in fact, most times, and I'm sure all of us on this call, with the panelists, will tell you at different stages in our careers, that people that even spoke or mentioned our names sometimes were not necessarily people that we had a personal relationship with, that were maybe our immediate bosses. It may be someone watching you from afar. And that's where the theory of a sponsor comes in, because somebody will speak up for you that you have exhibited this attitude or this value system that turns up in the right place. So please be a solution provider. When a report is being worked on, maybe somebody is working on a report and you know that your skill set is, you're very good with Excel, for example, data analytics. Yes, you're an HR person. I tell any HR person what his or her saw, that data for me is key. So imagine leveraging on your data analytics. You step forward and say, I'm ready to teach the team. Let me just spend 10, 15 minutes to run them through how this these tools on Excel works. It will stick. I would remember, because one day when you are not in the room and somebody is saying, we need somebody to go do a presentation for us in Accra, your name will come up because somebody remembered. It could be conflict resolution. You'll be surprised. It could be that you are the one that resolved some disagreement between a senior member of staff. Yes, junior people can do that. And a colleague, because you're able to navigate that terrain, that protocol within the organization. So there is always a problem to solve. Put your ears to the ground. I'm not saying you should be toju bole, what they call it. We're not saying you should go from door to door, because, like Mr. Eyono said, you need to watch what you say, but know your environment, know your business, know where the low-hanging fruits are, and step in. Because one day when the spotlight is, when the torchlight or spotlight is being put on, it will be on you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So yes, the same thing. Please, the spotlight can come out from anywhere and anytime, so be prepared. Ms. Eyono, please, I have a question for you. What advice would you give aspiring women, female leaders who want to take a seat on the table?
I think the first advice, and for me, the most important advice, don't play the gender card. Play a value card. Wherever you are, bring value to the table. I was listening to Kemi on the last question you talked about. When I was transiting from one role to another role, I wanted to join the commercial team. I didn't know the GM. When the HR manager, who became a mentor, counseled me on which role I should go for, and went to him, he said, oh, I've watched this lady from afar. At the IT steering committee, I like the way she presents. I like the way she takes this. I like the way she does that. And he reeled off things he had noticed. So don't chase visibility. Let the value you bring for women, let the value you bring, take advantage of where you can get visibility by all means, but let it be about what value you're bringing to the table. So I would say be a leader wherever you are. Begin to practice the leadership that will prepare you for the next level. Don't sacrifice family. It's very important. Your priorities must be right. Your work life, home life alignment must be in top condition. where you are balancing the two. Otherwise, stress will set in and you will break. If home is not okay and you're running off in leadership, you will pay the price for it. So that alignment is key. Whatever support system you need to put in place, begin to work on that as support system so that it helps you on your leadership journey. I think just be ready to give more than is expected of you. I mean, Kemi talks about teaching analytics or something when you have the opportunity. The reality is you work twice as hard as others. Just be ready to step up. Don't make excuses. Don't fall back on gender when there are issues. Deal with issues, even if they are gender related, the way you would deal with any other issues. Network, collaborate, seek allies within the company, have sponsors. There must be somebody that will sort of help you put a foot in the room, open the door for you to put a foot in. And you must have those people. Don't be the antagonizing female. You know, everything is because I'm a woman. So that's an old narrative that doesn't take you anywhere. I think just be authentic. Don't try to be a man. You're a woman. Don't try to be a man. You're a woman. Even the men love you as a woman, and they don't want another man in female clothes around the table. They will appreciate your views at some point. Build collaborations, and you'll find that it's the men with my career who have really helped me more than the women. It's the men who opened doors for me more than the women. I can only think of one woman who, through my career, she was an HR manager at the time, was really instrumental, but everybody else has been a man. So please, ladies, I'd advise, build collaborations, be the woman that you are. Don't be afraid of helping other women. As you build others, people will build you up. Don't be afraid of, she's doing this because you're a woman. Yes, acknowledge I'm a woman and I'm thinking like a woman, but I'm thinking like a leader who brings value to the table. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing, I'm bringing value here. So if I happen to think like a woman, it affects the bottom line. That is what matters. So I'll just say to women, be a leader. Forget that you're female, be a leader. Deal with gender issues as if there are other problems and just deal with it the way you deal with any other problem. And have an aspiration of where you want to get to. And I'm sure you can get there.
Thank you very much for that response. And I would pass it on to all the other panelists. But so this will be our final question, but I will just modify it a bit. Please, can you just add your words of wisdom? 30 seconds, please. And so I will start with, I'll continue with Ms. Bertina. Please just give us your advice and your final words of wisdom to everyone on this call, male or female, but especially the female gender. Mrs. Bertina, you have the floor.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. For me, my word of wisdom will be stay passionate, stay purpose-driven, and of course, develop and maintain emotional intelligence. Thank you.
Wow, that was very quick and very apt and very insightful. Thank you. Kemi, you have the floor now.
Okay, parting words, I think 2 sentences for me, because I was going to talk on some aspect of networking before growth and all of that, but I'll sum it up as follows. There is no success you can attain, sustain, or maintain on your own. I'll say it again. There's no success you can attain, sustain, and maintain on your own. So you need people, which is where we're talking about allies, having a community, having a network where you can glean information from, you can build competency. You need to network as a leader. Don't bury your head in the sand, because some of us say, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. All of us need connections at every point in time. That's your social network. And then lastly, on the topic of, getting a seat at the table, I think this sums it for me, is that you must bring value to the table. I think Juliet, you said, bring your chair. Okay, bring chair, bring table. But the point is, If you like, construct a 3-legged, 4-legged chair. If that chair is not sitting on value, your chair will break. So you must bring value to the table for you to get a seat at the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we will go and construct and find the value to put inside the chair. But thank you so much. I would just add my own words of wisdom because I don't claim to be wise. So far, I'll borrow from everybody and I'll just throw it in. So we should be competent. We should be hungry and passionate about what we do. Always fan that passion. Never let it sleep because that is, we don't want to have a purposeless life. We should work on our execution. I don't think we talked about that as much. We need to be able to execute whatever we start to do to ensure that we perfect what our processes, perfect ourselves, and perfect anything we do, or we put our hearts to it. And hard work. After you add all these things, please pray for grace because a lot of people have all these things and their soup still has not gotten to the top. So we need a lot of grace too. Some people call it luck, but some of us, spirituality and the rest, will give the word grace. So pray for God's grace, be hardworking, do your part, prepare yourself, continue learning. So at this point, I would like to thank every single person that had been on this call, every single person that had listened, and our panelists. And I will hand over to Engineer Sean to conclude on the session. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Can you hear me?
You can.
Wow, what a day. What a day it has been. I want to I'm somewhere on the island. I'm juggling between this event and another event at Oriental Hotels, and that's why where I'm seated now, I'm in my car. I just came out just to ensure that we balance both ends. I must appreciate our esteemed panel. Thank you very much. And I'm going to start from Juliet. Thank you very much, Juliet. You were supposed to take this session alone. We planned this, so we created this problem, you and I. So you are a fellow culprit, in the whole of this. But at a point we felt, why not let's bring in more women, and we bless the name of the Lord, and we so much appreciate our esteemed panel. Miss Eyono Fatayi-Williams, thank you very much. She's a godmother in church. She's also, she had moved to Ogun State CIPM now, So members of the branch, so you have her anytime you need her, I will take you to her house. You just said to me first. Thank you very much. My paddy, the ever looking young Kemi Shonubi. Thank you very much. I mean, you brought all the Lagos vibes, all the TV vibes. That video of the advert, I did it and she commented. So I said I will add, her comment. She commented and she commended, the work. So I said because she is a TV boss, for her to give that kind of comment, I'll add a comment to my resume when next time I'm going on a job hunt. Thank you very much. I know how it is, in this busy Lagos life, taking about 2 hours now off work to come and sit with us here just to grill us. We deeply, deeply appreciate you. And also the motivator, the engine room of our branch, Mrs. Bertina Bamgbose. Miss Bertina served as the chairman of our conference planning committee last year, and she as our corporate what's the name of that committee again? Corporate relations and sponsorship committee, and she pulled in so much amount that we have never recorded in the history of our branch. So this year we said, okay, Coco come and lead, the entire conference planning committee. And she has been doing fantastically well. Thank you very much, Ma. She's also the chairman of our Ota chapter, and she's also on the branch executive committee. So even though we can't thank ourselves, but of course, you can always give excuse that you are busy and all of that. So we appreciate. Now, finally, Juliet, I know I didn't let you do your slides. I'm so sorry. But you and I planned this together. So and I know, of course, with the amount of with the wealth of knowledge you have, I know we'll do this again. That time, if you want to do 3 hours, we won't stop you. So as our custom is, I want to please, our esteemed participants, don't go. There's important announcement for you, but I want us to appreciate. Let me share my screen. We have this token for our guests. Yes, starting with Eyono Fatayi-Williams. Can you see my screen? Please confirm you can see my screen.
It's still okay. Yes, we can now. We can see it now.
So on behalf of our branch, the executive committee, my vice chairman is also on this call. Members of the executive committee are on this call. We want to make this token to you. We'll forward it to you, but we want to make it public. Thank you very much for coming and for accepting our invitation. Also, Ms. Kemi Shonubi, thank you very much for coming. This is a certificate of appreciation to appreciate you for being here today. And my friend, my sister, Bertina Bamgbose, thank you also for coming. And last but not least, my partner in crime. Yes, we put this together. We put this together. So thank you very much, Juliet Nkanang. We can't wait for you to relocate from Abuja and move your branch to Ogun State. So before everybody takes a bow, we just have this announcement. Now, there's going to be a certificate like this for everyone, every participant here. There's this certificate we are giving you. We can't have a meeting as beautiful as this, and we are not sharing certificates. So what you will need to do now, I'm sharing, please just check your chat room, our website where you will book that certificate. I'm dropping it there right now, cipmogun.org, cipmogun.org. Just go there and book your certificate. You will see the information there on how to go about this. And then I'm also sharing, there is an HR community, not a branch platform. You have to pay as a monthly subscription before we put you on a branch platform. But this is an HR community that you can have soft landing. All of these esteemed coaches, they are also there. Almost all of them are there. So please, I've shared the link now in the chat room. If you click it, it takes you there, and then you can receive guidance. You can also give, you can give guidance, you can receive guidance on that platform. Whatever it is you need, whether you are looking for talents or you are looking for jobs, you want to switch careers, you have enough resources on that platform. Yeah, a bit of an announcement. We have this coming up next week. I was at HQ and they said Ogun State know the tire for professional development. Yes, we know the tire. So this one is coming up next week. Strategic HR in the digital age. And we have our friend, our brother, Oludare Sobajo. The group held Human Capital Management of ARM Holding Company Limited. He's going to be with us next week, Tuesdays to be specific. Please join that WhatsApp group. We will share information about this later. Also, we have this training coming up, performance management workshop, a hands-on. We are going very, very granular on this from end to end on performance management. It's holding physically at the Redemption City. Our friend will be there. What's his name? This man that consulted for CIPM headquarters. Ayo Muritala, yes, Neuros Resources. I mean, he's one of the leading performance management gurus in Nigeria. So it's going to be there for 2 days. And you can also join virtually for some of you that will not be able to attend physically. You can join. There are provisions for virtual participation in this event. Fee is 70,000. And this is very, very cheap. I saw the one he's doing, a master class he's doing, and that's 350,000 naira. Some of you that know him, you would have seen that flyer, on his status and on his social page. So this is by far the cheapest performance management hands-on workshop you can get anywhere. So for you to apply, please, you can visit our website, or you can visit this link, or join that WhatsApp group. You get more information about it later. It's holding next week, Wednesday and Thursday, physically at the Redemption City, and virtually you can connect via Zoom. We're only looking for 30 people because we again want to be able to pay attention to all participants since it's a workshop. So we're around 25. The first 5 people to connect to pay, we add you to the batch, and then every other person will join another cohort at another time. I think that's all for now. In terms of announcements, if there are other announcements, you will get them later. So that's where we draw the curtains today. My vice is here, and maybe we should release esteemed participants. Maybe just say a final word, and then you can leave. Yeah, I'll start with my dear, ever pretty Kemi Shonubi. Kemi Shonubi, please.
The engineer son, I introduced them looking for money. All this greeting, you're greeting me. I will send you the check. Thank you very much once again for such an insightful session. Ogun State chapter, I know that you've been trying to lock me down to come speak at an event, and I'm really happy. I'm from Ogun State, so proudly Ogun. I've been seeing the comments, and I'm really impressed with the feedback and questions from everybody else. We're all on a journey of learning. I really am grateful to have been paired with beautiful, wonderfully sound women on this panel, and it is indeed an honor to speak with you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, God bless you. Thank you for finally showing up. We can't wait for you to transfer your membership to Ogun State. We are the reigning champion. We are supposed to stand up for the champion. Now we are the reigning champion.
Money. Money.
Thank you very much. I'll give you a call after now to thank you properly. Now, our mama, our mentor, our coach, Eyono Fatayi-Williams.
Okay, first for me, it's been a great experience just taking part and listening to the perspectives, the comments. You learn every day. I've taken a few nuggets on, we bring value and it gives you a seat on the table and stuff like that. So it's been great. Just to say to the ladies, it is possible. Life is really what you want to make of it. All the support you need is available. Being part of this network is one of the best decisions you have made. So plug into this network. And if you want to help other women, get them involved in CIPM in this branch, because from what I see and all the things you're advertising, it's a learning branch. And once you're in a learning environment, there's no way you can be still, and there's no way you will not stay in the forefront of what you do. So thank you very much, ladies. Thank you, dear engineer. Bless you for putting this up, and may God grant the desires that we all have and for the things that we want to do. Knowing very well that the things you do make a difference. That's where HR is different. You're making a difference in somebody's life and in the life of an entire family. So please, our work is a very critical one. Thank you very much, and have a good weekend when it comes around.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. We joyfully welcome you to our branch. I've announced you to ESCO, and we can't wait for you to kickstart your role as the chairman of one of our most important committees. Thank you once again for moving all the oil experience from Port Harcourt to Ogun State branch. Thank you very much. Now, to the most versatile individual in our branch, Bertina Bamgbose.
Thank you, my chairman. Thank you very much. I just want to say a very big thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank Eyono, Juliet, Kemi. It was really a wonderful time sharing so much insights with all of you, getting different perspectives. Today was actually a wonderful learning experience. And I want to say an unforgettable experience. I want to thank everyone that is on this call. I'm sure we all picked one or two things. It is a good thing to learn, but I just want to say this, be a doer. Whatever we have picked from this section of today, let's go back and begin to implement. And I'm sure as women, that which our heart desires, we will get it. Nothing is impossible. Once we know that every woman here, you are valuable, you are a treasure chest, there's something unique about you. You can't be another woman. Just be your authentic self. And I know in our career as human resource professionals, once we have that growth mindset, once we keep learning, let's stay on this call of always learning, always learning. We'll find that we have that fulfillment, that satisfaction will come in our personal lives and in our professional lives. I'm sure if we're honest with ourselves, from what we have done today, the few hours we have been together, it's like a me time, a time that we have all developed ourselves, a time we have all learned one thing, both professionally and personally. And I want to say to every one of us, keep shining. Keep shining. You will always be a winner. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Bertina Bamgbose, MCIPM. And then last but not the least, our keynote speaker, Mrs. Juliet Nkanang.
Thank you, Engineer Sharon. Thank you to the amazing panelists, and thank you everyone for giving me this honor. I really, really am humbled, and I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. I'm hoping that the next time I give a leadership session, everyone on this call, one at least or two of us, our pictures will be featured in it. So that's my prayer for all of us, including myself, that we get to the top of whatever we want to do. So once again, thank you for the opportunity and have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you very much. My vice chairman, please confirm you are here. Okay, this is your certificate. This is how it will look, the certificates for this course. Please, let's go and book so we can send the team, organizing team can send yours to you. My esteemed vice chairman, please confirm you are here and you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Yay!
Good afternoon.
This is the stabilizer of our branch. You know, me, I'm at the creative edge, always creating problems, always, creating problems. This is the woman that stabilizes everything. She's the one managing, head of operations. If not for her, we'll just keep creating new things without managing the ones we have already. So thank you very much for joining. We just want you to give a final word and then close us in prayers. Thank you very much.
Okay. I want to say a very big thank you to all our panelists. I want to say a very big thank you to Mrs. Juliet that delivered that wonderful topic at the beginning. I want to say a very big thank you to everyone that participated. So thank you very much. It was a wow session. I wrote it in the wow session. I wrote it in the chat room. I have learned a lot of things, very insightful. There are a lot of value that I have gained from the discussion and experiences that have been shared during the program, during this session. So thank you very much. Thank you, our chairman, for making this happen. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone. And okay, you said I should say a word of prayer. So I'll just start with the prayer right now. In Jesus' name, in the mighty name of Jesus, Father, we bless your name and magnify your name for this webinar. We thank you, Father, Lord, for the success. We thank you for the insights that have been shared. Thank you for the experiences that we have learned that will help us in our career, in our various careers, at our different beats. Thank you as we forge ahead as a branch. We ask, Lord, that you grant unto us the wisdom that we need to continue as a branch, and grant unto us the knowledge and guidance to focus in our career. In Jesus' mighty name, I've prayed. We have prayed. Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to open the floor now so we can greet ourselves, and see you next week, Tuesday, for the session with Olabode. Bye for now.